Hey hippies, welcome back. It's Courtney Shavante. I'm here with another tutorial for you guys, and this one's absolutely beautiful. Before we get started, do make sure that you do hit that subscribe button for me and also hit the notification bell so that way you don't miss anything that I do put out for you guys moving forward. To start out, you're just going to prep 40 milliliters of resin, clear resin, and you're just going to pour that into the rim of your mold. Make sure you do start out with a clean mold so that way nothing that you don't want inside of your ashtray gets casted. From here, I'm going to be using these charms that I do have available on my Etsy shop, which is linked below. I'm going to place these into the rim, into the corners where I want them to be at. And then I'm just going to be using this toothpick that I have here to adjust the placements of the charms. Make sure they're facing the right way and that they're also flipped over the right way. You want them face down so that way when you demold and everything, the charms will be facing up and you'll be able to see the design on them and all the bling, of course. And again, you can find these at my Etsy store, so make sure you do click that link below, hippies. All right, after you finish with this step right here, you're just going to allow that some time to cure. All right, once that finishes curing and everything, we're going to move on to our next step. Now first, we do need to prep our lights. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just unraveling these lights right quick so that way I can get them ready. And then I'm just going to wrap it around this paintbrush. I'm just going to keep coiling it and coiling and coiling it over and over and pushing it down as I go so that way I can fit all the light string on there. And then this is just going to create a nice coil that's way easier to manage than just the loose string. I know you guys have asked me so many times how I keep the LED lights like inside the resin so they don't pop out, and this is a super easy hack. So yeah, just go ahead and coil those out and then pull them off of the paintbrush, and then you can adjust the length as you see fit, and then just go ahead and place into the thing. All right, now before we do place the lights in there, we are going to prep 40 milliliters of resin. In this resin, I'm going to be mixing up this really beautiful glitter mix that I made. Also, these glitter mixes are available on my Etsy store as well. Just make sure you mix it really well into the resin so you have enough time to get the bubbles to release and everything. And then you're just going to pour right into the rim of the mold. You're going to pour most of it, probably about half of that resin out. And then from there, you're just going to go ahead and start placing those coiled lights into that uncured resin. So take your time, just go ahead and stretch out those coils and push down using a stir stick or popsicle stick, whichever one works best for you, what you have on hand. Just make sure that it's completely submerged in there, and the coils in there is going to make sure that it doesn't flip up and out so easily. So, you know, it just makes it a lot easier to work with. Once you got them pressed down, you're just going to go ahead with that remaining resin and just pour it on top to help get it all secured into place. Now it may not completely cover the lights, and that is completely fine because we're going to be coming in with some more layers that will do just that. So scrape all that resin out because no resin left behind, and then you're just going to go ahead and take that heat gun and go all over. You want to thin this resin out so that way the bubbles have a chance to pump to the surface, and then you're just going to pop them using that alcohol spray and wait some time for it to cure. All right, once that's finished curing, you're going to come in with 60 milliliters of your resin, and then you're also going to get some gold flakes. Now, I use just a bit of the gold flakes because I don't want it to be super thick, but if you do, that is completely fine. From there, once you get mixed up and you make sure that all the bubbles are released, you're just going to go ahead and pour that into your mold on top of that glitter layer, and this is what's going to completely submerge those coiled lights that we did in the step previous. So just go ahead and scrap out the rest of that resin from the cup, push everything down, come through with the heat gun if necessary. That will also thin out the resin so that way it helps pop the bubbles and any micro bubbles will come to the top. And then of course you know what to do from there. You're just going to go ahead and take your spray alcohol and spray that so those will pop as well. Don't forget to get in there with that toothpick. If you see any larger bubbles, you can pop those. You can also maneuver the foils that are in here so that way you have it to your liking. Alright, so what we're going to do now, hippies, is you're just going to go ahead and mix up 100 milliliters of resin. I have this glowy orangish yellow color that I'm using. I wasn't recording as much as I thought I was, so I missed the part where I colored the resin, but I've done it so many times on this channel. You should already have an idea of how to do that. If not, feel free to check out another one of my videos where I have done it. So go ahead and wipe off the mold's base, any residue, any glitter that may be still stuck on there. You want to go ahead and get it off because, you know, this is going to be the base of the ashtray and everything is going to be visible on here. So this is just going to help out with that before we move forward. Alright, once you got it how you want it and those iridescent flakes are mixed in, you're just going to pour in half of that resin, and then you're going to take your heat gun and blow it all around, creating an even layer. And you want to try to remove as many bubbles as you can during this part as well. But this is more so just to make sure that you have this resin touching every surface of the mold and whatnot, so that way there's nothing trapped. And then you're just going to come in with the remaining resin and just pour the rest of that right on in. Make sure you scrape the cup out because, like I said, no resin left behind. This resin is expensive and I don't want you guys wasting any. So just go ahead and pour all that out the cup and then come through with the heat gun again just to make sure that, you know, you have it nice and thinned out and the bubbles have a chance to come towards the surface. And then you're just going to spray it like we always do with our alcohol spray to pop those, and we're going to allow that some time to cure. Alright, once it's nice and hard, you're going to go ahead and wiggle this from your mold. So you're going to start by pulling at the sides, making sure all the sides are released. And then after that, it should be super easy to just go ahead and pop this ashtray out right from the mold so that way you can move forward. Alright, take your time and be careful because those edges are sharp, but no worries because we're going to be taking care of that next. Move that mold off to the side so that way it's ready for its next use. And then you're just going to take that sanding block and you're going to go over those sharp edges. You want to make sure that no little fingers get cut or anything, and is also going to help make sure that your furniture is protected because we don't want that getting scratched up or marked up either. I'm pretty sure since we all love luxury here, we probably spent a pretty penny on some of that furniture, so let's make sure we protect it, okay? Yeah, just go ahead and go all around this ashtray and make sure that you've gotten it nice and smooth. Feel free to check over it using your finger. Just trace your finger over to make sure. And then from there, you're just going to wipe it off clean. Wipe it clean using a paper towel and some alcohol, and that'll get all that residue off for you. Alright, once you're finished with cleanup, now it's time for the fun part. So I am using this Pabio acrylic. Well, actually, I won't say acrylic. I don't think this is acrylic, but I'm using this gold paint to create this outline. Now this paint here is really thick, so it creates a nice texture and barrier, which is why I love to use it. I do have a more broken down tutorial that I posted maybe about a week ago now. I'll be sure to link that above so that way you guys can see how I create these lines for these geodes, but this is just going to be the outline for the geode that we are going to be creating and filling in. So just take your time and everything. This part that I'm doing right here is just the outline portion because, you know, with geodes you usually have a couple different colors going on. So each outline is just going to represent a different color that will be outlining the actual geode. So this one that I'm making here, I'm only going to be using 2 different colorways when I come in with that glitter, and you'll be able to see clearly what I'm talking about later. But just make sure that these lines, you know, they're not too straight and everything, because that's not really natural with crystals. So you just want to have a lot of fun with this part. You know, it's really hard to mess this up. You just want to make sure that your lines are connecting and that the outlines surrounding the geodes make sense. Alright hippies, now that your outline has had a chance to dry, you're just going to go ahead and mix in a chunky glitter mix with a little bit of that Brightone. It's a polyurethane. I haven't tried other polyurethanes, so I can't recommend any others, but Brightone does work perfectly for this. And I got it off of Amazon, which I will have linked below for you as well. So inside the main portion of these geodes, what you're going to do is you're just going to paint in the chunky glitter mix after you turn it into a paste-like consistency inside that outline. So that way this is going to create that crystal, that inner part of the geode, that crystal portion of the geode. So take your time. This portion is sped up here and everything. If you're interested on getting some really cool glitters and some different things going on, feel free to check out my Etsy store. I do have different glitter mixers available inside my mystery boxes. The mystery boxes have been a hit and you guys have been loving them. So do make sure you check out my Etsy store. That'll be linked below for you. I also have the really dope charms that I used in the beginning and the rim on there available as well, and you can buy those separately without having to get the mystery box. So make sure you do favorite my shop so that we can be aware of all the great deals that I do have coming out for you guys. So yeah, what you see me here is just continuing on with adding in that chunky glitter mix in the middle here. So I'm just going to let you go ahead and enjoy this part. After we finish with this, we're going to allow it some time to dry to touch, so that way we can move on to the next step, hippies. Alright hippies, so once that's dry to touch, you can go ahead and work on that outline portion. So what I did was I went ahead and used the Brightone to create another mix, but this one I am using a really fine glitter to do this outline with, so it complements the chunky glitter that's inside of that geode. And I'm doing the same exact thing that I was doing previously. I'm just using a really thin paintbrush to go inside that outline, and I'm just outlining the chunky glitter within those gold lines that we use that Pebeo paint with. So just continue filling this up. I did bring the camera in a bit so that way you can see what I'm doing a bit better. So I hope this works for you hippies. But yeah, I'm just going to continue doing the same thing that I was doing before. If you do have any hiccups or anything like that, just brush the glitter towards the inside of that outline where you want it to be. The polyurethane makes this so much easier to work with versus the resin, where you only may have like maybe 20 minutes working time. With the polyurethane, you can really increase your working time you know, into the hours if you need to, because all you have to do is add just a little bit more polyurethane and re-wet it, and then you're able to work it again. So I'm just going to let you guys enjoy this portion of it and everything until we get ready to do our dome coat, and I'll show you guys how we did that. Alright, perfect guys. So what you're going to do next is, after everything is completely dry, I did let that dry overnight to make sure you know, there was absolutely no moisture left. And then from there, I am going to go ahead and just mix up this clear resin here. I believe I ended up pouring about 25 milliliters into the base of this ashtray. And then this is just going to create a nice even coat, so it's nice and beautiful. And from here, I'm just going to use my heat gun to make sure that any bubbles are released. And then definitely take your time with this, because like I said, this is our dome coat. So any bubbles that are here, you will see them if you do not pop them. So add in resin if necessary, just to make sure all the glitter, especially that chunky glitter, is completely submerged and covered. Once you finish with this step, you're going to allow this a chance to cure completely, okay? Alright hippies, here is our glow show. I love how this glow powder looks. You know, when I make something glow, I make it glow. So you can definitely see this from across the room. Just make sure you charge it in sunlight or black light. Now this is what the ashtray is going to look like inside in regular light. This is how it turns on, so you can see those LED lights. It is so pretty. I love how this light up. It can also be used as a night light in emergencies or anything like that. So I think it's a really cool feature. But this right here, this is how our baby looks in sunlight. She is absolutely stunning. I am so in love with the colors here. I love how these blues and these oranges and this gold, they're just like really doing what I needed to do. The unicorn in the corner is so pretty. Look at her. Like, look at her. Check her out on my Etsy shop along with this blinged out crown. I think I am out of stock on the crowns, but I will be coming back with it. I do also have these beautiful golden bows that I have right here in the dips where you would place your smoking products and everything, you know, try and get monetized over here, so we're not going to say too much. But love how this glitter looks. See how the fine glitter outlines that chunky glitter. If you love it as much as I do, make sure you leave a comment. Feedback is a gift. And until next time hippies, XO.